this webinar seeing, they will not. There is also a anonymous button if you would like to ask questions anonymously. So now I'm going to pass it over to Representative West, and just make sure that your mic and your video are on whenever you are speaking. Thank you all for joining us. Representative West, I don't believe we can hear you. Oh, there we go.
Yeah, sorry about that. Chairman Slaughter, you can turn your camera on as well. I just want to thank everyone who is here today. We have at the moment over 100 people, hoping that others can join us because we really want to make sure that all the information that you are looking for, you can get answered on today's webinar. So this is a webinar that I'm excited about because we're going to be speaking truth about the criminal justice reform package that was passed in the General Assembly a couple weeks ago. So thank you so much for joining us. I hope everything's going well with you and the family, especially during this pandemic. Hope everyone is staying safe. So just want to let you know the people that we have on as panelists, besides the chairman and myself, is we have two of our assistant counsels, two of our legal counsels for the Judicial-Criminal Committee that are stellar, James Hartman and Aluchi Phoebe, who's going to be just in the background, making sure we have every answer that we need. Then I have Jeremy Ennis, my chief of staff for my district office. And then of course, you just saw Mercedes, who introduced us with housekeeping. I want to make sure that I also go back to this page, as you see at the bottom right, our co-hosts, NAACP, the Rockford branch, thank you so much for helping me by hosting this event. Women's March Rockford, thank you so much as well for hosting this event alongside with me and NAACP. Thank you for all that you do in our community. I wanted to make sure that we had stakeholders in our community to help broadcast this because, again, we want to make sure that you have all the information that you need. So today we'll be talking about the pillar number 1 when it comes to the Illinois Legislative Black Caucus agenda to rid Illinois of systemic racism. Every pillar from a couple of weeks ago is number 1 denominator behind why it was there was to help rid Illinois of systemic racism. And we're going to be talking deeper about that. So the first pillar, which is the pillar we're going to be referring to, is criminal justice pillar. This overview of this was that we broke this down, the chairman and the chairman of the Senate broke it down into 3 different sub-pillars: criminal justice reform, violence reduction, and police accountability. So we'll be talking about that. I'm excited to bring my friend and the chairman of the committee that I'm a part of, Chairman Justin Slaughter. He is the state representative of the 27th district. He's been there since 2017. Thumbs up if I'm right. 2017, Justin. Yep, good deal. And he's going on his 2nd term as chairman of the Judicial-Criminal Committee. We just found out on yesterday from Speaker Welch that he was reappointed as the chairman. I'm really excited about that. Hoping to be a part of that committee this term as well.
Oh, we gotta have you.
Before I give it to him, though, I want to make sure that we understand why we are here. The reason why we put this webinar together is for 2 objectives. The first, to empower the community with the knowledge and the reasoning behind the criminal justice package. Empower you with the knowledge and the reasoning behind it. And 2, to speak truth to this legislation. The rhetoric you hear is not the truth. It's simply rhetoric. For those from the 67th district, what I've been hammering in my community is the need for community empowerment. And I'm 100% confident that the things that we did within this package is focused on community empowerment. What does that mean? Empowering the community when it comes to the relationship between the community and law enforcement, the community, and just other facets of our community. Martin Luther King said it best when he said, "Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. And I'm a firm believer that if there's facets of our community that feels a certain way about certain things, then it needs to be addressed with everyone from the community. So this is bringing all community stakeholders, no matter background, creed, or sex, or sexual orientation, no matter what. It brings us all at an even playing field. This is how we restore trust for everyone. This is how, not just for law enforcement, but our court systems. This is how we restore that trust. And I'm excited to have this conversation with you. I'm seeing that questions are coming in, but before we start diving into those questions, I want to ask Chairman Slaughter to greet us and provide us with any information he wants to say, and then we're going to go straight into the questions.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. Definitely want to take a second here just to commend and thank Representative Maurice West for his leadership. The state of Illinois is better off because of Representative West. His time, his energy, his efforts that he has put in to the legislature has been tremendous. Looking forward to continuing to work with him. As he mentioned, he is a member of the House Judicial-Criminal Committee, where we've done a lot of great work in regards to criminal justice reform. But we'll get into that in a second. But Representative West has also done just a great job outside of criminal justice matters. He's done a great job reaching across the aisle, as well as working with Democrats on our side of the aisle. So very, very honored and proud to work with Representative West. You have a great legislator. So thank you for having me on. Also wanted to thank the NAACP branch of Rockford and also the Women's March Rockford organization, as well as our partners putting this on. As Representative West said, it's a critical moment as we have recently passed our criminal justice reform package, which was a part of the Black Caucus agenda. Along with criminal justice, we also did initiatives on economic development, on public health, and as well as education. What we wanted to do in regards to criminal justice reform is look at our system comprehensively, whether that was policing policies and reforming policing, but also looking at sentencing reform and violence prevention. And those were the three components of our omnibus bill that we were able to pass. And really what we wanted to highlight was addressing what we believe is a system that's rooted in racism. So when you look at discrimination, when you look at the racial disparities, we thought that we were able to put forth provisions in this bill that would look at addressing those racial disparities. So we want to, in this town hall, answer as many questions as possible, kind of take you through some of the major components of the bill, and looking forward to having a robust discussion. And as Representative West said, highlight the fact that collaboration on this is not just about the legislators and some of the folks that are usually at the table with criminal justice reform, but it's also engaging with the community, engaging with the 13 million people that are here in the state of Illinois. And so looking forward to the collaboration and looking forward to moving forward with criminal justice reform. Thank you, Representative West.
All right, thank you, sir. So, did you want to go over the PowerPoint, or you want to go straight into questions?
You know what? I can briefly maybe go over the PowerPoint. And you see here, these are some of the components that we certainly were trying to capture in the bill. Some of these made it into the bill, some of them didn't, but these were components that we thought were important to address: mandatory minimums, penalty enhancements. Of course, our truth in sentencing policies are something that we continue to take a look at. Drug penalty reform, not just something that's germane to Illinois, but We've seen several states across the country looking at the decriminalization of our drug policies. We all know about the failed war on drugs, and so that's something that we want to continue to look at. Elderly parole, something that kind of came to light, especially under the guise of the pandemic and what we've seen within the Illinois Department of Corrections. We're going to continue to work on that. That element actually didn't get into the bill, but it was certainly something that was creating the dialogue around what we wanted to do in our correctional system. And then mandatory supervised release. Several states, recently California, but other states looking at this as well. Limiting and kind of capping time on parole, capping time on mandatory supervised release. One of the major drivers of our recidivism population were the technical violations that we often see that are so prevalent in regards to our mandatory supervised release program. Representative, was there another slide? And then violence reduction, there was still a lot more to do here, but we were able to, in regards to victims' rights, victim services and resources, we were able to get a provision into this bill that streamlines that and actually will allow for more resources to be available for victims of violence in our communities. Of course, we know that this is a very important topic in regards to underserved communities. I represent the far south side of Chicago here in my district, where this was really, really important. And so it was good to get that into the bill. A lot in regards to justice reinvestment as we look at our budget situation, and we'll be talking about this a lot more. How do we reimagine our budget? Prioritize and reprioritize where tax dollars should go. And as we look at implementing this omnibus bill, we certainly want to keep in mind as we enhance public safety, what does that mean, fiscally as well? You may want to go to the next slide. And here are the main components of our police reform framework. Police training, certainly enhancing use of force training, crisis intervention training, and then use of force. So looking at what are our policies there. One big provision in the bill is creating and establishing a statewide policy. So our police departments are all on the same page in regards to excessive force, deadly force, and our use of force policies. We didn't want to forget about officer wellness. This is policing is a very, very important industry in our communities, in our neighborhoods. And, in regards to being mentally well, it's really important that we also come up with best practices in regards to officer wellness. This bill also highlights a co-responder program. We wanted to pilot and again be a flagship model for the country in regards to how we cultivate and support co-responder models. Of course, seeing this in New York, Chicago, Minneapolis, also LA. Actually, co-responder models popping up all over the country. In that case, we want the state of Illinois to again be a best practice model in that regard. Body cameras, this is very, very important. This bill will allow us to become, I think, either the 6th or 7th state in the country that will require body cams. We're still trying to kind of figure out what Colorado just did with body cams. That's why I said either 6th or 7th, but wanting to be a trailblazer in that regard. I do believe that most states will follow suit in regards to body cameras, but that was important. Of course, data collection and transparency, something that we also wanted to improve on. Also, you may be hearing things like licensing. We did a lot on the building out a more robust certification and decertification for police. When we did a review nationally, we saw that Illinois was severely lacking in regards to how we license the police industry. We did a lot there. We'll talk about that. And then, of course, qualified immunity was something that has been on the table, not just for our state. Also, you see other states taking a look at that. We were able to create a task force that we'll be putting together soon. Representative West and I will be collaborating on that as we get that off of the ground. What are some best practices that we can flush out in regards to how we address qualified immunity? And so purpose of the bill, and we'll talk a lot about this, is not to criminalize and penalize good policing. We were talking about addressing bad policing and police misconduct, and how do we, in an effective, impactful manner, bring about more police accountability in regards to the state of Illinois. And so these are all some things that we're going to be talking about. Want to get to some questions and some dialogue here, but did want to kind of lay out that framework for you. Thank you, Representative West.
Thank you, sir. So this is the time where we'll start doing the questions. We're going to hear Mercedes's voice. She's going to give us the questions. I saw some people raise their hands. We're not allowing people to speak. So if you have a question, please type it in the Q&A portion, and we will definitely address it there. So this is the time to ask your questions in the Q&A portion. Mercedes, we'll give it to you for the first question.
Should we put our cameras?
No, Mercedes, are you still there?
Oh, yes. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Okay, sorry. The first question says, what are the advantages or disadvantages, if any, on nonprofits delivering services to individuals formerly impacted due to incarceration?
Can we take that one?
Yeah, you can go take that one.
Okay. Thank you, Mercedes. Well, I don't know if there's any disadvantages to more community-based services and to providers and to non-for-profits. It's something that both myself and Representative West want to do a lot more on. I think this session will certainly be spending a lot of time on violence reduction is also with reentry. Traditionally, these policy discussions have been about appropriations, budgeting, more resources and more dollars. One of the things Representative West and I want to now concentrate on is codifying into law some of these policies that will help us facilitate better community-based services, credible messengers, right? If you have a background, oftentimes you are limited in some of the family engagement activities that need to happen, being on public school grounds, certain things like that. And so how do we change our policies to allow for more engagement and more community-based interventions? How do we start to also codify into law certain outcomes, right? This is taxpayers' dollars that we're talking about here. They need to be spent and optimized wisely. So, in regards to this, we want to hammer home with best practices and evidence-based practices so that we know the programs, the services, the initiatives that we put forth are going to be impactful, are going to be effective, and have proven to be effective. But then how do we also cultivate emergent practices, right? Not-for-profits and community providers that may not have ever linked their work to research, but how do we cultivate that environment where they are able to show the effectiveness of their work? And so that's something important that we want to do as well.
Thank you, sir. Go ahead, Mercedes, with the next question.
If the presentation that was previously just used, will it be available online?
I can definitely, if anyone wants this presentation that we just shared, I'm definitely open to providing it. It's open information. It's information that was open to the public from the beginning. But keep in mind, a lot of the information that's on that presentation I just shared there's components to that presentation that was not in the criminal justice package reform package. So just keep that in mind. But yeah, if you want it, when you get an email after this Zoom call, you should get another email thanking you. Feel free to respond and asking for that presentation. I'll make sure you get it. Next question, Mercedes.
You guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Sorry. If the police were to stop someone for a DUI and does the person have to submit to testing? And if they walk away, can the police stop them?
Say that one more time.
Wait.
Okay.
Okay.
If the police stop someone for a DUI, the person chooses basically not to submit to the testing, and if they walk away, can the police stop them? And if someone gets a ticket, do they have to pay it?
In regards to the DUI, I think they do have the choice to not engage in the breathalyzer test.
Mhm.
So I guess I don't know how you get to the actual DUI until you've gone through the process of determining that. So in the question when you say will you get stopped for the DUI, I think that's yet to be determined until you go through some steps. And I will defer to, we do have some other folks on the line that are attorneys in that regard. But I think that would be the case. I don't know,
Yeah.
Justin or Lucy, did you want to kind of walk through the legal?
Well, they did provide a text message. They said the
Okay.
DUI is still a detainable offense, but if they refuse to do the breathalyzer, that they're still able to lose their license. That's the current law, and there's nothing that's changed in regards to that. The bill didn't change that at all. So yes to both of those questions, Mercedes. Thanks for that question.
Thank you guys for those answers. The next question asks, let's see, was law enforcement involved in creating the bill?
I'd like to take that one, Representative West.
All right.
It's been a question that is often asked with this from a contemporary standpoint in regards to over the summer and in the fall. They certainly were a part of the 9 hearings, joint hearings that Representative West and I participated in. Both the House and Senate had joint hearings, 9 of them. And then during the lame duck session, we also had 3 more House committee hearings in regards to the bill, and they were certainly a part of that. This has been an ongoing discussion. So there's a contemporary kind of lens to look at this through, but there's also a historical lens. These are not new issues. These are not new challenges. These have been historical challenges. And so from that regard, the law enforcement coalition has certainly been at the table in regards to crafting and at least engaging on these matters over, I'm talking about 30, 40, 50, years in regards to a lot of the provisions that ultimately ended up in the bill. You'd be amazed. Leader Flowers, State Rep Mary Flowers, actually was in tears because some of the provisions in this bill were bills that she filed her first term in office, which is 36 years ago. And so in regards to these issues being on the table for quite some time, sure, the law enforcement community has been a part of it, and they certainly will be on an ongoing basis. We may talk about it a little bit later, but the effective date on this bill is July 1 of this year. And so we'll certainly be in an evolving discussion and collaborating with law enforcement to address many of the concerns that they have. Representative West, you want to jump in there?
Yeah, actually, I was going to jump in with a follow-up to that, what you just said. What do you foresee would be the collaboration with the follow-up from now until July? What are some examples of that you foresee?
Sure. I mean, I think in instances in the bill where there may be some unintended consequences, or when you look at, good policing, however, being maybe penalized or criminalized, we certainly want to collaborate with law enforcement to work out those kinks. In regards to enforcement, we're, for instance, looking at the body cam provision. We want to do that in collaboration with mayors, with police chiefs, with municipalities, all get on the same page in regards to an agreed sort of enforcement mechanism. This is all important that, lawmakers and the legislature isn't making all of these decisions in a vacuum. We think that this is a great start. It was something that we needed to do. We wanted to do. It was a people-led initiative, of course, 5, 10, 15, 20,000 person marches in our communities. And so it was something that we wanted to do in regards to being responsive. It's a great start, but the dialogue, as we see it, Representative West, we'll start to look at some of these nuances that the industry is more equipped at highlighting, and we have an open door policy in terms of that collaboration and what we need to do to address some of those issues.
Definitely, gotcha. And for those of you from the city of Rockford area, I'm committed to still having these conversations. I spoke briefly with our sheriff, Sheriff Caruana, a couple of weeks ago, and I owe a coffee time with him, and I plan to reach out to him soon to have that coffee with him and just see what they're thinking and bring it to the chairman. And I'm going to be reaching out to the state's attorney. Even Representative Vela in the 68th is having conversations, and he'll be his hope is to be part of the Judicial-Criminal Committee chairman. So if you could put a good word in for him, he's a criminal justice lawyer or something of that nature. But
definitely. But it's also important to in the question and the essence of the question in regards to law enforcement. Many times, and really, I don't know if I can count on one finger where law enforcement really is embracing or supporting criminal justice reform. And so in this new day, in this new era, which we hope the bill personifies, we certainly want to create a different dialogue, a productive dialogue, where we are seeing law enforcement at the table, understanding, how law enforcement may be playing out differently in underserved communities of color. Having that dialogue is really important. And, we want to, begin to trailblaze a new discussion, a new dialogue. And we hope that this bill will be able to do that.
Thank you, sir. Mercedes, next question.
So the next question asks, why did this happen during a lame duck session?
Well, because it hadn't happened in 400 years. We were trying to get together in veto session. We didn't get together in veto session, and the people of the state of Illinois want to see us working. And so we went to work in lame duck. It was something that we certainly needed to do this work, and Representative West can attest, just in his first term, this is not an event. This is a process. Folks want to say, well, what about veto? What about lame duck? What about the new session? I mean, every time we step foot in Springfield, we go to work. And these are ongoing, evolving, discussions. It was important for us to really address this. We thought it was a priority that we needed to address here in the state of Illinois, but not just in the state of Illinois. If you look all over the country, you will also be seeing that same sort of energy and legislators at the table trying to get something done. Representative West, what did you?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And, full transparency, there's some of us who called for a special session during the summer, but we weren't given that special session. We were excited to work on this during veto, which would have been, 3 days in 1 week, 3 days in another week. But that was canceled. And so we felt that it had to be, when we found out we was going to have a lame duck, we knew it had to be done because it was going on almost a year since people have been crying out for some type of moves and actions from their state government. So it wasn't that we were trying to force it down people's throats or move it quickly. Like Chairman Slaughter said, we had 30 plus hours of subject matter hearings during the summer. And yeah, that was well and good, but we were ready to get to work and go to Springfield and work on this. And so when lame duck was formalized, we capitalized on the moment. But again, this is not the end all be all. We're still following up this coming session, like I mentioned earlier, and we're excited about what can be done before July comes. Next question, Mercedes.
Question asks, why are rubber bullets taken away?
This is an interesting one. Many people don't realize or really paid much attention to crowd control policies in regards to law enforcement. However, when the George Floyd incident captured the attention of our country, or really actually the entire world, but and we were seeing a lot of marches and protests. The policies around crowd control started to come to light. And so rubber bullets and also, it wasn't just rubber bullets. There were some other provisions that we also put in the bill, but we wanted to ensure that folks were able to exercise their right to protests and to marches without a dangerous, violent environment. And one of the things that many of the legislators were thinking about was rubber bullets and some of the police practices that go into crowd control. And so we wanted to be responsive in that regard, and feel confident that this will protect the rights of many to protest.
And to be more specific, it prohibits any non-lethal projectiles from being targeted at the back, head, or pelvis. And rubber bullets are super dangerous and causes tons of injuries, basically. So it was that's the reason why rubber bullets were part of the language. Thanks for that question. Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. The next question asks, how will this package affect those currently incarcerated?
Go ahead, Rep.
Actually, I'll go to you. I'm still trying to think of there's protections in the bill for those who are currently incarcerated. Am I right, Chairman?
Yes. The question was, how does it affect folks that are currently incarcerated?
Yes. How does this? Mm-hmm.
Well, there was certainly a lot of this actually did not impact those who are currently incarcerated, but there were some provisions in there. We did, there's a provision that protects pregnant inmates, obviously women, enhancing and protecting their rights within the Department of Corrections. We did a lot there. We also looked at medical treatment inside of our correctional facilities. This coming to light under COVID and how within our facilities, there is a disproportionate impact for chronic illnesses, and that was playing out in regards to the spread of COVID. And so we did something around medical services and enhancing that, and really trying to create a best practice medical response sort of program for our Department of Corrections. I'm trying to think, was there something else? A lot of what we did was trying to keep folks out of prison, to be honest with you. When you look at some of the sentencing reform that we did. But those two, pregnant prisoner rights and the medical provision, were two that would help those that are actually in the Department of Corrections. But a lot of the other stuff was more so prevention measures. So we ended prison gerrymandering. That also kind of impacts those that are in prison. I don't know, but some folks do know, but many folks don't know in regards to the census. The census is taking not the last known address of prisoners, but the actual address of the Department of Corrections facility. And so that was having an impact as well. It's actually a very significant thing, because this does have an impact on funding. And so that was another provision that the Department of Corrections was at the table in regards to the discussions taking place on the bill.
Thank you, sir. Next question, Mercedes.
How can the audience find out more about this bill?
Good question. You need to follow people like Representative West that do an extremely great job of being transparent and putting information out there. We're actually joined by a couple staffers that have done a tremendous job, that are continuing to put together documents for the public. We there's a couple of infographics that are out there that Representative West and I have been sharing, and it's also an evolving collaboration to continue to put together some documents. But I am at repslaughter27.com. Representative West, you want to talk about it? But I'll be putting some more on my website as well.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I was going to say. You can follow us. You said repslaughter27.com, staterepwest.com. Follow us, because this is evolving still, and it's still something that we're committed to having conversations about, and we can definitely keep you posted and updated on what happens.
Hey, Rep, what's your Twitter and Instagram?
State Rep West.
Yeah, and I'm Rep Slaughter, at Rep Slaughter.
Yeah, so follow us.
Instagram.
Follow us on the gram.
right. Both Instagram and Twitter.
Yep, for sure.
Asks, will there be a system to know of those who have been involved in bad policing?
Sure, that's actually what we want to do with our licensing provisions that we put in, the certification and the decertification scheme. So we want to look more at better background checks, our officers completing the required training. Are we, documenting ongoing misconduct? These are all parts of the certification aspect. And how do we enhance decertification, right? Expanding the list of misdemeanors that would qualify for automatic decertification. How are we using our officer misconduct database to start to log some of these things and enhance more transparency around police misconduct? Our officers, resigning before they get through the disciplinary process? Did they, get fired? Was there an investigation done? All of these things are now going to be part of the the licensing process that will help tease out and address bad policing.
And that's the key right there, teasing out and addressing the bad policing. It's not really, this is not a anti-police measure. It's not trying to say that policing is bad whatsoever. It's just to weed out and the bad policing. And so our good policing will be just fine. It's just for those who are not as are bad police that partakes in bad policing. That's the gist of it.
Right. And also we wanted to do some things, many folks may have heard of the collective bargaining aspect of this that the legislature grappled with as we did kind of finally settle on what we were going to do there. What we were seeing is with bad policing, oftentimes mayors, police chiefs will recommend that an officer be disciplined or fired, but oftentimes some of those provisions within the disciplinary process, which was associated and tied with collective bargaining, would often be manipulated to somehow circumvent and we would see a lot of police hopping officers either back on the street with the same department or oftentimes, in another municipality with another department. So we wanted to also try to address some things there. We didn't go as far as the initial draft of the bill did, but we did want to ensure that what we were codifying into law would supersede what local collective bargaining agreements could put forth. So all the things that we wanted to codify with use of force, for example, collective bargaining agreements and disciplinary provisions cannot supersede those things that we were codifying into law. And so it gives a little bit more power to the states to put forth a framework to control and at least address, bad policing and try to address the manipulation of collective bargaining agreements.
Yeah, and more power to the municipalities as well. Correct.
That's right. That's right.
Also, make sure that one bill that I was excited to put part of this package was to ensure that disciplinary records are not destroyed. That part is in the bill as well.
Very important.
Yeah, definitely. Because at the moment, before this package was passed, we're still waiting for it to be signed. But before, after 4 years, any disciplinary actions can be destroyed. And as we all know, none of us has that leeway and that opportunity within our own professions and arenas. And so, again, it's not to penalize policing, it's just to make sure we know who and we weed out bad policing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very, very important. Representative West, you had a bill prior to what we did in lame duck, and we basically did Representative West's bill and put that in the omnibus. So
I appreciate that. Next question, Mercedes.
Our next question asks, who or what agency will maintain the database for police, and will the general public have access to that database?
The Illinois Law Enforcement Training and Standards Board, ILESP. I know that's a kind of a lot to say, but they are the entity really that for the most part will be front and center in regards to a lot of the police reforms that and provisions that are in the bill. They'll be maintaining the database. In terms of the access to the public, obviously this is something we talked about. Where do we land on that, James and Alucci? They're kind of in the background, in the background, helping us with that. I know that is an important part. I just didn't want to be misspeaking in regards to what actually got into the bill. But the Training and Standards Board will be will certainly be, and there's actually I guess, 3 databases that we'll be looking at. But the most important one is the one that is going to be logging the misconduct, and it will be searchable by the public. I just got that. It will be searchable by the public.
The next question says, how can we speed up the beginning of the ban on cash bail?
How can we speed up? I didn't catch the last part.
The ban of cash bail.
How can we speed it up? It's a great question because folks do need to know that a lot of the go live effective dates of these provisions are not immediate, right? The first effective date is actually July 1 of this year. In regards to ending cash bail, that won't go live until January 1st of 2023. We wanted to give the state, our state, a runway there to again embrace dialogue and collaboration with our court system, our counties, our state's attorneys association, as we work out a myriad of issues that we feel that we need to before this goes live. Of course, we want to move from a system that leans on one's ability or inability to post bail to more one that is going to be leaning on verified risk assessment tools that takes a more comprehensive approach to understanding the nature of the offense, understanding the particular individualized situation and circumstance around what happened with the offense. And so that does take time. This is not something that we wanted to shove down the throats of counties. Of course, there's also fiscal implications around where the bail money goes in terms of operations. All of this needs to be teased out. However, many of the legislators we're supporting myself and Representative West in this regard because it is inhumane to subject those to pretrial detention before the trial even happens. Of course, in the United States of America, now not in every country, but here in the United States of America, you are innocent until proven guilty. And so these were, just the morals and values of what we wanted to be reflected with this legislation. How can we speed it up? I don't know. You gotta work with the legislature and stakeholders in terms of a timeline. But we think we have a good timeline in regards to that January 1st, 2023 go live date. We think that it'll provide time to get stakeholders to the table and tease those issues out.
And just looking at the other side of the spectrum, for those who may ask, how do we slow it down? How do we keep it? Ending cash bail keeps criminals in our communities. That's not the case whatsoever. The truth behind it is that ending cash bail puts the decision back into the hands of the judge. And if someone is violent, the judge can say that they're staying in jail. Case in point, Kyle Rittenhouse went to Kenosha and killed 2 people. He's out because of angel investors posted his bond. He's violent. He's a danger to our society, but he's not in jail at the moment because of cash bail. And so putting the power where it's supposed to be in the hands of the judges. They will be able to determine based on their judgment on if someone should stay in jail until the trial date. And if someone doesn't pose a threat, they can be released. So it makes it easier to keep violent criminals in jail.
Excellent point. Great questions from the audience, by the way.
Most definitely.
Definitely very, very appreciative of the participation.
So the next question asks about addressing.
Can't hear you.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Can hear you now, yeah.
Next question says, is there a particular reason why qualified immunity reform was taken off of the table?
Great question. No, I
Yeah, it
did.
is.
Representative was just smiling. We were just in the trenches, as we, we're in caucus debating and discussing all of these provisions. So it's just kind of putting a smile back on our face. Very, very complex issue. Does take a great deal of research. There's certainly a knowledge gap. And I say that just to say, I mean, with everyone, a lot of folks didn't even know what qualified immunity is until a lot had unfolded with the George Floyd situation. U.S. Congress, do want to note that they actually passed out of the House, rolling back and taking away qualified immunity. Of course, that bill got stuck in the Senate. We'll see what the Biden and Harris administration will do with it. But really, it was something that I think the Black Caucus certainly wanted to put the time, energy, and effort into to see where it would go, how it would land in regards to the total package. And one of the things that we wanted to do was not kind of just leave it out there and not do anything on it. What we did do is actually establish a task force that will look at how to address qualified immunity, moving forward. But one of the things was getting the knowledge gap addressed for members to really feel confident about what they were voting on. And we just, we weren't there quite yet. And it's something that we're going to kind of chip away at in terms of, bringing, stakeholders to the table, enlightening not just members and the legislators, but also the public around what qualified immunity is. This actually unfolds on the civil side. A lot of people think, well, police officers are not held accountable ever. It's actually not true. On the criminal side, they in criminal courts, police officers are held accountable. You can't break the law or you can't commit a crime and not be held accountable. This is a little bit more nuanced in terms of understanding how the civil side of the law works. Of course, this is federal doctrine that we're looking at here. Another thing here, a lot of states looking at this in the same exact way, Colorado being the only state that's been able to really kind of repeal it. But we do feel confident about this task force. Representative West will have a lot of input on how that looks. We want to get a diverse, robust team of folks from all over the state. We'll be leaning on Representative West to look at his area, his district, and whatnot, and how they'll be represented on the task force. But Rep, you can kind of talk about just the complexity, right? Yeah. Of trying to understand qualified immunity. I think at the end of the day, we had about 3 or 4 even different options that we were trying to get through, and just couldn't land on anything. But
yeah, and then watching you do your roll call, right. If we kept it in as is, we would not have a package. Just to be frank, and we needed to put some measures in to get to the votes we needed to pass this measure. And so I'm looking forward to the task force. It helps everyone, all parties, to really understand qualified immunity, because like you said, Chairman, it is really complex, and it's more on the civil side. So we'll see what the future holds in terms of QI. But right now, the task force, we'll make sure that there's stakeholders in place to give voice to it.
Thank you for that. The next question asks, what will be the job and or main purpose of the Qualified Immunity Task Force?
Well, just to like I said, it's, review, understand, maybe put forth, obviously put forth recommendations on how our state can address qualified immunity from a standpoint of creating a state level cause of action. What does that mean for the court systems, for for trial attorneys, getting that input in regards to the legal mechanics and operation of it all. Also, I think one big aspect of the task force will be to enlighten the public on what exactly is meant by qualified immunity, but ultimately, putting together a report for the General Assembly, for the governor's administration that will look at recommendations if there is going to be not legal, but legislative action that will be taken on the topic.
Thank you. So as far as for the next question, can you address the part of it that talks about police training and as far as the cost and like who will be, how it will be paid for, different things like that?
Sure. And one of the things that I do want to say is that this was also a bill that Representative West had focused in on prior to the omnibus. But what we did in the bill was essentially codified into law best practices around use of force training and crisis intervention training. When we spoke to police officers, many times what you would hear is that they're not trained frequently enough, and the quality of the training is not where it should be. And so we wanted to look at more so the frequency of the training and also the quality, obviously looking at best practices. We're working with the Illinois Law Enforcement Training and Standards Board to flush out a fiscal aspect to how much this will cost. It'll be in the range anywhere from about 15 million to 30 million. And we're looking at a lot of different options in regards to funding. Representative West and I voted on a $40 billion budget back in 2019. Of course, in 2020, a lot of implications that COVID had on that $40 billion budget. But we do feel confident that we will be able to reimagine and reprioritize where funding will go to come up with that 15 to 30 million. And we want to do this in a compassionate way towards police departments. Folks don't know, but police chiefs have a very difficult administrative job when it comes to, choosing how to roll out training, the decisions made around, how to get trained versus, keeping officers out on the street. We want to be compassionate towards that, work with police chiefs, senior level police officers so that, we're doing this in a way that it can be effective, it can be impactful. So municipalities want to engage into this enhanced training. We don't want to hamstring departments with having to do it. And so that is certainly one of the, these areas, Rep. West was talking about how does collaboration look. This is an area of the bill where we certainly want to be in concert with the law enforcement coalition in regards to how we'll roll it out. And that won't happen immediately. That is going to be something else where you will build towards, 100% compliance in regards to the all the police departments throughout the state.
The next question asks, does the policy go over resisting arrest, and can you explain what is justified as resisting?
We did have a provision on resisting arrest. What do we do on that? Or requires a predicate offense to charge someone with resisting arrest. So if there isn't a predicate offense that has occurred, you cannot arrest someone for resisting arrest. All too often, certainly in the Black community, we were certainly seeing that, and that was something that we wanted to address. And so we did actually. There is a provision in the bill that looks at addressing resisting arrest.
Yeah, for those of you who followed me, my community connections over the summer, we had a conversation with Carlton Mayers and Bryant Moore about resisting arrest. And I'm excited about this particular measure because there must be an underlying offense before the charge of resisting arrest is effective. Because we always have these questions: what does resisting arrest mean? Is this a backdrop that people can fall on when they don't get what they want? Can officers fall on this when they don't get what they want from the person? Okay, well, I'm going to hit you with resisting arrest. Well, this makes sure that there's an underlying offense before that charge is effective. So that's a good question.
Right. Great question.
So the next question asks, will this legislation decouple labor issues from discipline and accountability?
Not in general. Now, there was a lot of discussions with this in regards to just other labor unions. This is only germane and specific to police unions, and it doesn't decouple it. It just you certainly will, municipalities will cultivate and create and develop collective bargaining agreements with disciplinary provisions. We won't decouple that. There were certainly dialogue and discussions around if that would be the case. But no, this won't. But it will allow state law to be the law of the land that supersedes collective bargaining agreements. And so, again, those things that we're codifying into law will reign supreme over, any local collective bargaining agreement.
But labor rights are not stripped away. So
yeah, right.
Yeah, labor rights are not stripped away.
Can the Civilian Review Board get subpoena power?
Can they get subpoena power?
Did we add anything concerning civilian review boards?
What was that, Rep?
Did we add any measures around civilian oversight boards?
Yeah, good question, Rep. I mean, you and I and others had talked about, but I don't think anything on civilian boards. I didn't think we did anything on that. However, it was definitely discussed, and it was on the table in terms of putting in some things there. Some municipalities have pretty robust civilian boards. We were kind of looking at how we could facilitate that, statewide, at the municipal level or at the county level. But we didn't do much there. I think that the question is definitely a good one. Will, our state move towards, having more civilian boards, and will they have subpoena power? I don't know, but I have a feeling that it certainly will be something that will be discussed.
What are some of the criticisms that you guys are receiving about this bill, and how are the police responding to you as far as those criticisms? What are some of the conversations that you guys have had?
Go ahead, Brett.
Well, a lot of the conversations we've had is why I put together this webinar. And it's, again, like I said at the beginning, it's putting truth to this information rather than rhetoric. For example, things that I've put on my social media sites while we were in lame duck. We've heard situations such as we're getting rid of felony murders. That's not the case in this bill whatsoever. If someone was to commit a murder, they're going to get hit with a felony murder charge. It's just in this bill, giving you an example, is that whoever commits the felony murder will get hit with the charge. If he comes with a group of people and one person commits the felony murder, they will get hit with the felony murder charge, but the group that he or she was with will still get charged at the highest extent of the law, which mostly would be, for example, armed robbery, which is a felony or something of the sort. But right now, the whole group would have been hit with a felony murder charge. We're just making it to where the person who commits the felony murder gets charged with felony murder. Right. And so it's not getting rid of felony murder whatsoever. This is why we're having these conversations. We've heard a lot of rhetoric. And so that's why we put this together, so that people can hear the truth. That's an example. The thing I mentioned about cash bail, a lot of people being able to be brought criminals left in the streets. The judge will make sure the criminals are still in jail. The less offenses, the misdemeanors, they can come out and wait for their trial date. That's what ending cash bail does. And so that's why. So the question goes back to the person who asked the question: what are you hearing, so that we can talk about it? Because there's a lot of them that are out there.
Right.
Good question, though.
Yeah, great question.
The next question asks, can you explain the Truth in Sentencing Act and how this process will work?
Sure, and we didn't, truth in sentencing provisions did not get into the bill, but in 1998, actually June of 1998, we established truth in sentencing, and it required that for certain offenses, if convicted, you had to serve a certain amount of time for those convictions. And so, what we see in terms of the Department of Corrections are individuals that, are really serving very, very lengthy terms. I think we've still got over 5,000 people in the Department of Corrections with 35-year plus sentences. I want to say over 3,000 individuals that have 50-year plus sentences. And so when you look at rehabilitation and how we are spending taxpayer money on corrections and rehabilitation, this truth in sentencing is certainly something that we want to address. What ends up happening is that because there is a mandate requirement in regards to the amount of time that you have to serve, we're doing nothing to incentivize the engagement in rehabilitative programs, services, initiatives. Many folks that are in the Department of Corrections say, hey, why should I do this? I've got to serve a certain amount of time anyways. And so, as we look at addressing truth in sentencing, but also making sure that we protect victims' rights, right? So a lot of this is, you may want to reduce or somehow allow folks to be eligible to reduce their sentence, but we also want to make sure victims and families of victims are at the table to be included in those decisions as well. But something that we certainly want to take a look at, just because of the overly punitive nature of truth in sentencing in regards to the time served. Some of these sentences are just too much. Even getting back to what Representative West was saying with felony murder. You're being charged with felony murder. You do not necessarily pull the trigger and commit the murder. However, you are, serving that first-degree murder length of time.
So the next question asks, can you explain who will be required to wear body cameras, when they will be required, and how small communities will be able to afford body cameras in their communities?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Representative West and I, we had talked about this quite a bit. There was actually a few bills around body cameras even prior to the omnibus, but one of the things that we wanted to do again was, work with municipalities to roll this out. What we are embarking upon is a rolling compliance schedule. So I believe it starts in 2022. It culminates with 100% compliance in 2025. And based on the size of the municipality is when the municipality will be scheduled to comply with the requirement. I believe it starts with the larger municipalities first. There was a second part of the question in terms of the smaller municipalities. Mercedes, what was that?
Yes. So that second part was basically addressing how they will be able to afford funding for body cameras.
Well, what we want to do is create a state program. So we're looking at the funding coming from the state. A lot of this is also educating the public on this, whether it's software or hardware. There's one cost will be for the actual hardware of the cameras, but then software. A lot of folks don't know that the most expensive part of a body cam program is the cloud storage that you need. And so one of the factors, I think, in making it a statewide program is that we will be able to maybe consolidate some cost with this. So working with our budget folks to see how we can consolidate costs and somehow maybe look at saving funds to do this. But another good example with where we have to have continued collaboration. There's some other provisions that we'll need to put in place around FOIA, around redaction, to have a full, robust body cams program. There are some things that we will need to add to this bill before it goes into effect. Some of the penalties for that we may need to look at. We don't want to penalize or criminalize officers if they unintentionally, for example, don't have their cameras turned on. A lot of the police departments have been concerned with that. That's a valid concern. This is about bad policing that we want to address. The intentional incidences where your body camera isn't turned on. But looking at all of that is something that is certainly on the table. Right now, there's not an enforcement mechanism there. We want to work with municipalities to see, be on the same page there. And so there's just a lot that we still have to do. However, as these body cam videos continue to surface and we continue to see police brutality, and we continue to, field questions from the public around, hey, did the officer have a body cam? And, some of those answers are no, the officer didn't have a body cam on. And okay, the officer had a body cam on, but was it turned on? We find out that it wasn't turned on. We must have a more robust program system in place. And we found out, and we thought that we really needed to have legislative action here in regards to starting that discussion around a body cam program. We become the 6th or 7th state in the country to do it if and when the governor signs the bill. Personally, just doing a lot of research on this, I see other states following suit. I think in a few years, I think you'll see every state having a body cam mandate. We may even see some action from DC in regards to this as well. So.
A little bit of housekeeping before we keep going. We're coming close to 8 o'clock. I don't want to hold our attendees long, and Chairman, I don't want to hold you long as well. We're going to make a hard stop at 7:55 if you're okay with that. Jeremy, I ask that you copy and paste the questions that we don't get to so that we can put, I got all the emails, I can forward the answers to the questions we aren't able to get to you all in the next couple of days. Again, we are recording this, so you can watch this at a later date. I'll make sure you get the YouTube link to that as well. So I just wanted to put that out there. You okay with that, Chairman?
Great. Yes, definitely.
Okay. All right, so we'll stop at 7:55. So we got 8 more minutes. So Mercedes, what's the next question? And Jeremy, please start copy and pasting.
So the next question asks, the new law prevents police officers from viewing their own body cam footage prior to writing a report. Do you know the reasoning behind this mandate?
That they cannot view their
Yes,
documents?
it says it prevents police officers from viewing.
Well, I mean, what we're trying to get at there is, would there be any sort of manipulation or intentional manipulation around what was displayed on the body camera in regards to, producing and creating a report. That's the objective of what we were trying to do. Again, I mean, Representative West and I, stand here committed to, having that ongoing dialogue that needs to happen, to address maybe perhaps the concern there.
Mm-hmm. It just prevents them from having the affirmative right to seeing it at the end of the day. But so the chief can decide. But in a regular situation where they aren't possibly the defendant, they can view it if their chief wants them to. So.
Offer your perspective on the governor signing the bill.
May you say it one more time?
Can you offer your perspective on the governor signing this bill?
Go ahead, Rep.
Yeah, we are waiting for him to do so. I know there's a lot of stakeholders who are asking him to not sign the bill, but again, as you heard, it's still evolving. Even if he signs the bill, we're not done working with key stakeholders on certain parts of this legislation. So,
right, and I'll just remind the folks that are listening, the governor's administration actually used all of 2020 at the beginning, doing a fireside chat where he detailed out what his administration's priorities were, and then at the end of 2020, adding, I think, more of the policing reform piece to it. But it's something that is certainly, his priority, and we do expect him to sign the bill.
Okay, thank you. The next question asks, another major issue is spousal abuse and domestic violence. What are all of the powers involved in this decision to be able to agree on the help to address this major issue as part of the police force, time on offering allocation?
Let's try that one more time.
Okay. It says another major issue is spousal abuse and domestic violence. What are all the powers involved in these decisions able to agree on the help to address this as a major part of police force time on officer allocation?
And officer allocation.
I think my brother's a little confused, but domestic violence is something that is very, very important. Something that we certainly want to continue to address. Not many provisions in this particular bill on that, but certainly something that, Rep. West and I, we have talked about it before, but it's something that we certainly want to concentrate on and continue to work on. Maybe, Rep, if you can get that particular individual's information, we can kind of maybe get back to.
Yeah, not a problem. If you guys, if that person's okay with it, please share your information with us. Representative Vela and I are working with the city of Rockford on key domestic violence legislation. For example, I'm holding the bill for this coming up term on a domestic violence fatality review team. Representative Vela is holding a bill to ensure that OPs, what are OPs? Come on, I can't think of what the OPs are.
Right, so too many acronyms.
Yeah, but here it comes, domestic violence. So if someone has a sexual assault against them,
Yeah, think about that for a second. One thing I
Yeah.
will say that in regards to domestic violence, they were consulted. A lot of the DV advocates were consulted on the cash bail discussion that we were having. I also know that in regards to police certification and decertification, the DV discussion came up as well. And, you know, in regards to orders of protection.
There it is, OPs,
Yeah.
orders of protections.
Yeah.
So
we were,
Representative Vela,
yeah.
there's a follow-up bill with that, ensuring that domestic violence survivors, once they file their first order of protection, that it is forever. Right now, it's only every 2 years, and they had to go back to the judge and see their assailant every 2 years to renew it, while others like sexual assault, rape, that order of protection is forever. So there's follow-up bills on that, even now.
Okay, I'm going to ask our last question. It says, how will individuals seeking police accountability have their rights of privacy and confidentiality protected with a citizens review board?
Well, I think that they do now. I would hope so that they do. But we one of the major provisions in the bill was removing the sworn affidavit requirement for the public in regards to filing police complaints. And so we think that that's a major step forward in regards to protecting confidentiality. And we think that it will. I mean, I've had constituents come through my district office that have certainly voiced their concern in that regard. And so, you know, we think that that will be a impactful provision in regards to protecting confidentiality.
And that's a good example of what we've been hearing a lot of. So, Mr. Chairman, can you expound on the notion that now that we have anonymous complaints, that we allow anonymous complaints, that any anonymous complaint could get me fired as a law enforcement officer? Can you expound on what the true facts are?
It's a good question, Rep, because a lot of anonymous complaints and how police officers and police departments address those actually are already happening. And that was really, you know, a catalyst for the discussion in terms of why we wouldn't do this statewide. Personally, I actually thought it was just a city of Chicago thing, and found out that it was actually a state, something in state statute that we needed to look at. And so, you know, we think that we increase public safety if the public is allowed to have more confidence, more trust in the system by, you know, protecting their confidentiality. I think in the past, we've seen that it has not, you know, had this, hey, the sky is falling sort of effect that we may be hearing from law enforcement right now. And so I think we actually taking a step forward in regards to facilitating the community engagement process in regards to complaints.
Awesome. Closing remarks for you, Mr. Chairman. Oh, one more. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Mercedes.
It's just a question asking, will this be available for individuals later, for individuals who have come in a little bit later? You guys have covered a lot of information, and can they still have access to this whole meeting?
Most definitely. As soon as I hit this in button on this Zoom, this webinar will start record or, you know, save onto my computer. I will then add it to YouTube and then send out a link to all of you via email and on our social media sites. Chairman, I'll send it to you as well if you want to post it on yours. Sure. But yeah, we're recording it right now so that people can refer back to it, especially those who weren't able to be with us. But yeah, Mr. Chairman, I want to thank you for hanging with me, man. Oh, is there anything you want to add?
Oh, no, I was just going to say thank you, Representative West, for so much that you have done, but what you will continue to do. you know, as a rep that has just rolled up their sleeves and is working on behalf of not just your district, but the people of the state of Illinois. I just want to commend you on your work, you know, pulling the stakeholders together to put together this town hall is awesome. And this is just the beginning, just the start of the discussion that needs to take place. You know, it's important that we not kind of get diverted from the fact that reforms needed to happen, you know, in regards to policing, in regards to addressing our mass incarceration crisis with sentencing reform. Still a lot more work to do in terms of violence prevention. And so this is just a start. Also wanted to reiterate that continued collaboration. It's important that we continue to have the discussions, pull stakeholders to the table, but more than anything, it's important that the people be at the table. And so that's why this town hall is so important. We appreciate you all joining us tonight. And Representative West hit it right on the head in regards to community empowerment. It starts with you and it ends with you. And so we appreciate you all taking the time to listen to us. And, you know, our hope is that you continue to stay engaged. You know, this won't be the last town hall that Rep. West and I do. And so in that regard, we look forward to continuing to work with you. Thank you.
Definitely. Thank you, sir. And at the end of the day, family, all of you who are still on, this is by no means us versus them. This is by no means legislators versus law enforcement. This is meant to be us and them, us working together, all of us working together for the sake of community empowerment. So yeah, Chairman Slaughter, thank you so much for being here with us. To all of you attendees, thank you. Staff, Alucci, James, thank you. Jeremy, Mercedes, thank you. NAACP-Rockford branch and Women's March Rockford, thank you so much for being hosts. If you want to stay connected with us, staterepwest.com, and then there you can find my social media presence and you can follow. Chairman Slaughter, what's yours again?
Yeah, repslaughter27.com, and then you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at repslaughter. And then my Facebook page is State Representative Justin Slaughter.
And this is not just for us to get more likes, not at all. We want to make sure you stay connected and you stay informed on the facts about this bill. So, alrighty. Well, happy Thursday evening to all of you. 8 o'clock is here, and I hope all is well with the family, and have a good night. Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you.